Good afternoon, everyone. Let me thank everybody for coming over to the State Operations Center today for our press conference. I'm joined, as usual, by our Commissioner for the Department of Public Health, Dr. Kathleen Toomey, our GEMA Director, Homer Bryson, and General Tom Carden. Also, we have Colonel Gary Val, Lieutenant Colonel Chris Wright, and Captain Nikki Renfro with the State Patrol. Department of Safety, we got the Department of Corrections Commissioner Tim Ward and the Assistant Commissioner Ahmad Holt with us today. Also, Department of Juvenile Justice Commissioner Tyrone Oliver, Department of Natural Resources Commissioner Mark Williams, GBI Director Vic Reynolds, and Special Agent in Charge Debbie Gardner. Before we get started on the weekly COVID-19 briefing, I wanted to take a few moments to address the protests that we've seen in communities across our nation. As I said over the weekend, this is a deeply emotional time not only in Georgia but across America. We are gripped by a global pandemic. COVID-19 has threatened the health and well-being of our families and communities. Here in Georgia, this health care crisis has created economic hardship. Our unemployment numbers and uncertainty are sky high right now. And during this unprecedented moment, we have witnessed injustice with our own eyes. Georgians are filled with fear, anger, and righteous impatience. I realize that people are hurting and have more questions than answers right now. I support the right to peacefully protest, to honor the life of George Floyd, and to demand action. As the cradle of the civil rights movement, this place where peaceful protest ultimately shook up the status quo, the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., this is a city where his legacy looms, urging us all to seek justice, love mercy, and treat others fairly with kindness and respect. And what started as a peaceful protest Friday ended in violence and destruction. A powerful moment was ultimately corrupted by some with a different agenda. And from the start, we have worked with Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms' office and local law enforcement to provide assistance and support. At their request, I have deployed the Georgia National Guard and hundreds of law enforcement officials to key locations across the city. And over the past several days, we have provided reinforcements to Atlanta, as well as communities across Georgia to enhance public safety and preserve peace. I cannot tell you how proud I am of the men and women who, at a moment's notice, were on the ground working to protect not only people, but property. And let me be clear, I am outraged that Georgians are now in harm's way because some are using this moment to riot, to loot, and to compromise the safety of our citizenry. I will tell you that violence and destruction is unacceptable. We will continue to do our part in conjunction with local leaders to plan, mobilize, and respond appropriately to threats that undermine our safety. We will do whatever is necessary to keep the peace. That being said, I still have hope that we can emerge from this stronger than ever before and more united than ever before. I truly believe that our best and brightest days are before us, and they are still to come. This is a moment to unite Georgians and find solutions to the problems that we face. We have overcome incredible challenges in this city and in this state together. I know that most are trying to protest in a productive way without compromising the safety of others. One story we were actually made aware of that happened yesterday. There was a group of peaceful protesters moving down Auburn Avenue as we neared the curfew. GPS troopers were on hand because that section of the street is close to the interstate. The troopers reported to the leader of that group to remind his fellow protesters of the curfew and asked them to leave once they got back to their cars after a successful, peaceful day. And that is exactly what they did. These are the kind of folks who are having their voices heard and inspiring real change. Them doing things the right way, but also speaking out against the injustice that we have witnessed. In regards to our law enforcement and state personnel, I want to thank all of the men and women who are working night and day with very little rest here in the State Operations Center and those that are out in the field of battle. I have never been more proud in my life, other than maybe when my children were born. We can't thank you enough for the service and sacrifice that you are giving to our state and our local as we speak. I also want to thank all of the local leaders, the members of the Georgia National Guard, our community leaders, and citizens who have helped us prepare for nonviolent protest and mobilize the right resources on the ground. Over the past few days, your partnership has been truly invaluable. On Thursday in Brunswick, as you know, Gregory and Travis McMichael will appear for preliminary hearings following their arrest for the death of Ahmaud Arbery. We will have a strong state law enforcement presence in the region to support the local government, including the Georgia State Patrol, the Department of Natural Resources officers, Georgia Guard troops, GEMA officials, and other related state agencies. And we will take the appropriate actions to hold bad actors accountable if they try to infiltrate what has been very peaceful gatherings in that community for well over a month now. And let me be clear once again, we will not tolerate disruptive or dangerous behavior, including criminal conduct. And we will put the safety of our citizens first. In a few moments, I'm going to ask Dr. Toomey to come up and address the expected impact of the protest over the weekend on our COVID-19 numbers, based on her expertise in public health and as an epidemiologist. We've obviously been monitoring the impact and are concerned about it. I want to let everyone know that we encourage all law enforcement, along with those that are participating in the demonstrations, to get tested immediately. Dr. Toomey is working closely with Dr. Paxson at the Fulton County Board of Health to establish pop-up testing sites next week. As we take measured steps forward to put Georgians back to work, we continue to see positive progress in our fight against COVID-19 with increased bed capacity, reduced hospitalizations, and a decreasing percentage of positive cases out of total cases. As we continue to be grateful for our partnerships with local hospitals who are on the front lines battling this virus and supporting their efforts, we are supporting their efforts. To date, we have distributed more than 18,440 vials of remdesivir, and we're receiving another 4,520 vials today. Hospitals continue to report initial positive results from this treatment, and we remain hopeful that more treatments like it are on the way. And while encouraging, we'll continue to monitor the key metrics. And as usual, we will continue to use data, science, and the advice of Dr. Toomey and her team to chart the path forward. Over the past 3 months, Dr. Toomey and her team and the District Health Director staff at the local departments of health have worked tirelessly to respond to COVID-19. They have established 150 testing sites, conducted more than 151,000 tests, and continue to be an integral part of our response to this crisis. And their hard work certainly continues. One thing that I did want to make you aware of is that you may see a temporary decline in the number of tests administered due to the National Guard's role in assisting local law enforcement with the recent protest activities. These men and women in uniform will return to fulfill their original mission when the streets are safe. Today, several new improvements were made at on the DPH COVID-19 Daily Status Report page. As I've said numerous times, citizens and members of the press need accessible, timely, and accurate data. These changes will make the DPH webpage more user-friendly while providing a comprehensive picture of where we are in our fight against COVID-19. The webpage will now update once daily at 3 p.m. Again, the updates will now start at 3 p.m., allowing DPH officials more time to process and confirm lab and public health lab reports on cases. DPH has reordered some key metrics to make the data more easily digestible, and the website now provides a breakdown of testing based on molecular and serological tests, along with the percent positive for each type of test. As well, the demographic charts have been redesigned to clearly present the data in a more user-friendly manner. And before I turn it over to Dr. Toomey, I want to renew a few calls of action. Please continue to follow advice and mitigate your risk of exposure. We're still battling a pandemic, and we need to stay vigilant. Continue to keep your distance, wash your hands, and do all of the other things that we have been saying for weeks and weeks now. A little bit of good news from the last couple of weeks of my urging and others. We are starting to see more patients return for regular screenings, but we're also seeing an increase in more serious diagnoses because people have delayed their medical intervention. So again, I want to all Georgians, don't skip your medical appointments. If you put them off, please reschedule now. Do not take your individual health for granted. There are medical facilities all across the state, whether private practice, hospitals, or the like, are ready for you to come back in a safe way. I would urge you to call them or get in touch with them on the way to do that will prioritize your personal health. Again, we are in this fight together, the fight against the coronavirus, the fight to revive our economy, and the fight to ensure liberty and justice for all. I know for one that I will continue to keep the men and women who these folks, many of them are managing and have been the last several days on the front line of a lot of I want to thank them, and I want to thank all of those that are under their leadership, that are out there now, that are at home resting and will be back later tonight, who will be here tomorrow and the next day and the next day, until we can get back to a normal place in this state, in this country, of not having to defend our streets, our citizens, and our storefronts from unruly people. These are the resilient people. I've been in here every night with them, long into the morning. If those people that are unruly out there think that we will lay down and we will quit, you're in the wrong state. So thank you. You will continue to be in my prayers. And I will continue to pray for peace and justice and a better and brighter tomorrow. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Toomey.